All right, New York Open. It is Thursday, July 24th. Uh, Not great price action for me today. Um, Early on, I was looking for again my C strategy. I love those when they show up. They usually show up within like the first 5 minutes of the session, which is great, and they have a pretty good win rate on them as well. I was trying for one earlier, but it didn't trigger. So just waiting. I was going to try for another one there, but again, it didn't trigger. So I took the order off. I'll do a separate video just detailing that C strategy because it's awesome if you are like myself and you just have such a limited window to trade during the day. Then you can kind of just like watch for that one in the first 10 minutes. And if it doesn't show up, then it doesn't show up. So at this point now, I was considering a short from the top of the range here, but that's not my C trade. My C trade, it was down too far into the range to enter. Hindsight, obviously, it would have been a great trade. Low risk, high reward. But it just wasn't great price action for me. I'm watching for that C trade in the morning, or I'm watching for the MA. And today the MA is just like, I can see at this point, it's not going 50 points straight down or straight up. So I'm thinking it's looking like it's probably going to be a range day. I was still watching the MA, thinking shorts maybe. I wanted it to go down and kind of take out that overnight low, which I think it does here, but still no trades for me. So just watching. At this point, it's probably about 45 minutes into the New York session, which sounds ridiculous, but is longer for me to be watching the charts. I really like to be out within the first half hour. So here I was looking for this to hold as support. I was hoping it would hold as support and shoot up and I would get the MA straight up 50 points and I could take my nice, easy A strategy trade, but it quickly became apparent that that wasn't going to happen. I did draw on the trend line. I don't really use trend lines much, just if I think a reversal is coming and it seems that there's an obvious trend line, then I'll put one in and watch for it to kind of break and hold, which it did in this case. But still nothing, and it's like getting close to 10 o'clock, and I'm thinking, okay, there's not going to be any trades for me, and I probably should have shut it down, but I kept watching, and yeah, nothing really, just kind of some consolidation here. Still waiting, hoping for a big move. At this point here, it did become a bit more interesting. So when price came up and retested the opening range, so it's retesting the bottom of the opening range, I had a trade that I would look at before, which was my B strategy, which I've kind of abandoned because it was a bit more sketchy. But basically, I would have gotten short after that candle that rejected off of the opening range low. But then it happened again. And when it happened twice and both failed, like typically once that happens, I would be looking for it like in the previous time that it happened for it to drop pretty quickly. It didn't. It held up. And then I saw price holding above the MA. So that's when I decided to go long. I had a 9-point stop and a 15-point TP on it. Not my trade plan at all, but it was like, what time was it? It was 9:43, and I think it was like I was just feeling like I'm not going to get a trade in today because I'm supposed to stop by 10 o'clock. And it just was like, I don't want to sit here all day. I know an hour and a half sounds ridiculous to be thinking I don't want to sit here all day, but I didn't want to be stuck sitting there all day. And my setups weren't going to come. Like it was just clear I wasn't going to get them. So I took this one. The trade won. I got the 15 points. It actually ended up going for quite a bit more than that, but I was happy with the 15 points. I at least stuck to putting on my stop at my TP and leaving them and not touching the trade after I put it on. So even though I didn't take my trade, I failed on that. I watched the trade, I failed on that. Um, at least I left it. At least once I put it on, I went, okay, this is a trade. I picked it for a reason. I have the TP for a reason. I'm just going to leave it. So I did that right. As for my challenge, not so good. I didn't wait for a valid setup. Truthfully, there was no valid setup for me today, so it should have been a no trade day. Um, Entered without hesitation doesn't really matter in this case. Yeah, so, and I watched the trade. So I completely broke the rules on the challenge. So I got to start the challenge again tomorrow. So that's 3 failed days in a row. Not too happy about that. I did make money. Yeah. So I've had 3 failed days in a row this week. But over those 3 failed days, I am up $400 on my take profit trader eval that I'm working on. I know that's not a good thing to be breaking my rules and having poor discipline and still making money, because that's going to reinforce the bad habits that I'm trying to break, of not following my plan and not sticking to discipline. However, this wasn't it wasn't terrible. The things that were good on this were that I did have patience. I stayed out of the market until close to 10 o'clock in the morning. So that's progress for me to be able to just watch it and be like, nothing, 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 stay out. So that was good. And then the setup that I did take, it wasn't my ideal setup, and it's not the ones that I'm supposed to be looking for. But it wasn't just a random trade. It wasn't just like, oh, I need to make money really quick. Okay, I'm going to go long. And then it worked out. It was actually like, okay, this failed, it failed again, it's staying above the MAs. If it crosses this candle, I'm going to get in long. And I also looked at the stop and I'm like, I can handle a $90 loss on it. So it wasn't terrible, but I did fail the challenge again today. Yeah, so if you enjoy watching me struggle with sticking to my rules and discipline, give me a like, maybe subscribe. I would love it if anyone would join me in this challenge, or if you have your own sort of rules that you're trying to establish and consistency and discipline that you're working on in your trading. If you're doing your own challenge, I'd love to hear about it. Leave a comment for me. And yeah, Friday tomorrow. So I will see you tomorrow, and hopefully by the end of the week, I can get a successful day in the challenge. All right. Thanks for watching.